One thing I've been paying close attention to is how XRP has been doing better than both Bitcoin and Ethereum this loop. Because of this, it has also been making a lot of people in the crypto groups angry. This is also something I think is mostly the fault of the Bitcoin maxi side, and it makes you think of cycles past as well as 2020 and 2021. Hear me out. People have been mad at XRP for years. This doesn't happen very often, but it seems to have gotten worse lately. But we've already talked about this in terms of the lawsuit, right? Vitalik was all over X when the case became public. He said that the SEC was finally going after XRP, this garbage coin, that, and other things. Also, I have no idea what these people have been through because of XRP. I don't know what kind of pain XRP or even Ripple caused the Ethereum Maxes team or Bitcoin Maxes, but they hate it for no reason. This is one way to look at it, or you could think of it as having no reason. XRP is risky because it has already done better than Bitcoin this cycle. It has also already beaten Ethereum, and not by a small amount. If we look at this more closely, XRP is up more than 400%, Ethereum is up close to 100%, and both are up about 63.5% in the last year. At one point, it was 500% in just 1 year. So it makes sense that if I were also in the Ethereum Maxi, I would be scared of XRP because the network works 10 times better to begin with. In reality, it works much better. This is what we think about it. The report from the CME group is linked below. Now let's see what XRP Mikkel just shared. XRP is 400 to 500 times faster than Bitcoin, as we talked about. Plus, it works 30 to 40 times faster than Ethereum. Financial infrastructure is what XRP, which stands for, comes from. It comes from the CME group. They understand. They do things the right way. So if I were a Bitcoin or Ethereum maxi and I watched all the changes in the US cryptocurrency space, I would see that all of these businesses are on board and that the government is now backing this whole technology, right? They want this technology, though, for tokenization, transfers, and other things. But let me tell you something. Does Ethereum still shine? It is still being used by a lot of people. Things like stablecoins, tokenization, and more, that sounds great to me. But for how long? I've talked about this subject more than once. I am sure that Ethereum is going to explode soon because people will stop using and adopting it quickly, and other networks will take its place as the best. They're going back to a Temin 22 about something like the XRP ledger. I don't have a bias. I don't think it will just be XRP. I believe that the facts speak for themselves, even though there is some really cool stuff in the field. Crowds. What's even stranger is that it all started with Ripple's original plan to go after large investors in the big banks. XRP has always been known as banker's coin. In fact, it was made fun of for being a banker's currency back in 2017 or 2018. Fans of Bitcoin are happy that players like Michael Saylor are buying huge amounts of Bitcoin, and ETF players like BlackRock are supporting the currency. And people made fun of us for being a part of the plan to make banks and finance more efficient, which we now see as silly. Ripple is also made fun of for working with big banks because it goes against what cryptocurrency was meant to do. Now, you know that BlackRock backs Bitcoin and that big banks back and praise it. It makes no sense at all. Anyway, when Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies were first thought of, they were seen as a big way to break away from the old way of doing things at big banks. What do you think? The person who made Bitcoin wasn't a rebellious programmer who wanted to see traditional banking fail. No, Bitcoin was created as a huge test to see how successful it could be. I always say that the government made it up. I'm sure the government had something to do with it. I also believe that big banks have been a part of this journey from the start. I've talked about it more than once. These days, when we think of cryptocurrency, we think of openness, on-chain technology, and being able to use wallet IDs to track on-chain activities. There's no way to get out of normal banking this way. It is not private. I believe that everything that was based on the idea that crypto was for certain things and was first used for certain things finally fell apart. So Maxis's reasoning today is just plain silly. But I'm bringing this up because over the last few weeks, these big Bitcoin maxis have been spreading more and more false information. Take a look at Mark Moss, the top Bitcoin expert, as an example. Doesn't this crack you up? Think about this. While everyone tries to buy as much Bitcoin as possible through loans in the stock market, why would the founders of XRP keep selling? This is because in July, Chris Larsson sold $200 million worth of XRP in just 10 days while continuing to buy more from a Bitcoin maxi close to the exit liquidity. These are the facts. This comes from Crypto Arsenal. As a fun fact, Galaxy is selling 80,000 Bitcoin to its Inquirer or Whale clients. This is equal to 0.4% of the total amount. Chris Larsson sent 117.5 million XRP to platforms not long ago. This is 0.2% of all the XRP that is in circulation. Again, though, the first one isn't talked about. You only hear that XRP is being sold. It is true that 80,000 Bitcoins are being sold. Yes, let's talk about XRP instead of that. With this in mind, XRP constantly takes attention away from Bitcoin and Bitcoiners. This is a ridiculous case where XRP is being blamed for something. It seems silly to me. They also get very angry whenever something happens that involves XRP. USA Today, for instance, said that XRP is the best coin to buy with $500 right now. It's just an ad or something. What this is doesn't matter, right? Was a common answer. It's important that it was posted. All of a sudden, everyone was back to using Bitcoin Maxi again, even Laura Shin. Another thing that makes her mad is that Brad Garlinghouse refused to be on her show. Matt Hamilton, who used to work for Ripple, told Laura, "Come on, because Brad is so mad that USA Today wrote about XRP and how it was the best purchase. It's been almost 10 years. You don't need to feel hurt that he didn't want to come to your talk. It makes sense to me. XRP has done better than both Bitcoin and Ethereum so far this cycle. I think it will keep going that way." Besides that, Caitlin Long just got back to us. This video is about to start playing. The whole thing lasts for almost 3 minutes and 25 seconds. You might think that the XRP army is done fighting Stuart, Ripple, and Brad Garlinghouse. This came from Digital Asset Investor. The vet gave us an X0 with a line through it. She has no idea what being talked about, but she talks about it with such confidence. They have never held an ICO. XRP had no worth at the start of the XRP ledger, and all $100 billion was put into the Genesis account.